After several hours of trekking, a lone figure approached the entrance of an S-level cave, its dark maw filled with the bones of fallen mutant beasts. The figure was none other than General Liu Shang, a hardened warrior carrying a heavy backpack on his back. As he neared the entrance, he placed one foot on a large rock and gazed into the depths of the cave. The last time he had ventured inside, it had been nighttime, a setting that amplified the cave's eerie atmosphere. But now, in the daylight, the sense of dread was diminished, yet not entirely gone. With a steely expression, Liu Shang reminded himself that any monster or mutant beast lurking within was nothing more than an illusion, a mere shadow before his might. Lost in thought, he suddenly heard a voice in his mind, a whisper that echoed ominously. A single blow can destroy everything. Without a second thought, he leaped forward, diving into the cave's gaping mouth. As he descended, his mind raced. Is that consciousness still here? He mused. Does it only exist in this S-level cave, or is it a presence in every cave like this? His body began to radiate a powerful green energy, enveloping him like a protective shield. With hands outstretched, he accelerated his descent, hurtling toward the bottom. I'm not afraid, he told himself. The last time he had encountered the consciousness, he had tested its strength, discovering it to be nothing more than a paper tiger. Yet, despite his increased power, he knew he was still vulnerable. There was little he could do from this side of the rift. Glancing downward, he questioned why the entity was using tricks to lure him back. Seconds later, Liu Shang landed at the bottom of the cave. As his foot touched the ground, the energy surrounding him blasted the earth beneath him into fragments. He brought a hand to his face, surveying the cave's interior with a wry smile. If I encounter it again, he decided, it's better to withdraw immediately. His thoughts momentarily drifted to Dong Qingxue, wondering what she might be doing at that very moment. Meanwhile, deep within another cave, Dong Qingxue, Dong Shengyi, and Lin Wanwan faced their own challenge. A hulking mutant beast emerged from the shadows, its growls reverberating through the cavern. Dong Shengyi, ever composed, drew his sword with a swift, practiced motion. He took an offensive stance, his eyes narrowing as he assessed the beast. With a single, precise strike, he cleaved the creature in half, his blade moving with effortless grace. Behind him, Lin Wanwan couldn't contain her excitement, jumping up and down in sheer joy. On the other side, Dong Qingxue remained composed, her arms crossed as she silently observed the scene. As the beast's corpse hit the ground, a thick curtain of smoke rose around them, shrouding the cavern in a temporary haze. Dong Shengyi sheathed his sword, his expression serene. That should be enough, he thought, satisfied with his display of skill. Lin Wanwan brought her fists to her face, her eyes squeezed shut as she grinned from ear to ear. Dong Qingxue, however, focused her attention on Dong Shengyi, her gaze steady and unreadable. Without a word, she activated her spirit arrow technique, her eyes glowing with a vibrant purple energy. The technique allowed her to scan the entire area, searching for any remaining threats. After a moment, she spoke, her voice calm and measured. The area is clear. We can start collecting samples now. Lin Wanwan placed her backpack on the ground, donned a mask, and approached the beast's corpse with determined precision. She pulled on her gloves, her movements swift and practiced, as she readied a syringe to extract the beast's blood. The green liquid that filled the syringe was thick and ominous, almost like acid. Even in death, the beast's corpse radiated a malevolent energy. Holding the syringe up to the light, Wanwan observed the blood's eerie glow, a faint smirk playing on her lips. This is what I expected from a level 7 mutant beast, she thought, satisfied with the intensity of the sample. Dong Shengyi, meanwhile, approached Dong Qingxue with a confident grin. The source of a martial artist's power lies in their body, he remarked, his eyes gleaming with pride. Every part is a weapon, far superior to those useless stellar generals who rely on their fancy techniques. Dong Qingxue remained focused on the path ahead, her expression unreadable. She didn't even glance at him, letting his words hang in the air. Annoyed by her indifference, Dong Shengyi gripped his sword tightly and continued. If it weren't for the need to speed up my progress, I wouldn't even dirty this blade with the blood of these beasts. Her patience thinning, Dong Qingxue finally responded, her tone icy. If you're done with your arrogant speeches, either help with the samples or stay quiet. Her cutting remark struck a nerve. Dong Shengyi, suddenly self-conscious, wiped a bead of sweat from his brow and nodded, swallowing his pride. He turned his focus to helping collect samples, silently fuming but unwilling to provoke his sister further. As they moved deeper into the spatial crack, the atmosphere grew tenser. Mutant beasts continued to appear, but Dong Xingyi made quick work of them, his sword flashing with deadly precision. His skill was undeniable, but Dong Qingshue's mind was elsewhere. She couldn't help but feel uneasy, the thought of how Dong Xingyi's prowess might impact Lu Sheng gnawing at her. He's powerful, but that arrogance. It could be his downfall, she mused. The further they ventured, the more beasts they encountered. Dong Shengyi met each challenge head-on, slicing through the creatures with ease. But as the numbers grew, so did the intensity of the battles. Dong Qingxue watched him closely, her expression hardening. Maybe a few injuries would do him some good, she thought coldly. Let him see that he's not invincible. Just as she had that thought, as Dong Shengyi advanced, a sudden crack appeared near his feet. He froze, eyes widening in shock as he stared at the rift. His mouth dropped open, and his entire body tensed, muscles coiled and ready to react. He turned sharply to Dong Qingxue, his voice a mix of accusation and bewilderment. Why didn't you warn me about the crack? If not for my martial awareness, I could have been seriously hurt. Dong Qingxue remained unruffled, her arms crossed casually. With a calm demeanor, she offered a simple apology, her voice cool and controlled. I didn't see the crack. Her eyes locked onto his, and with a chilling smile, she added, but don't worry too much. It's a small one. At most, you'd only suffer serious injuries, not death. Dong Xingyi's face drained of color. Shock rippled through him as her words sunk in. Sweat began to bead on his forehead, his confidence shattered. Desperately, he turned away, trying to regain his composure. This is incomprehensible, he muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. Behind him, Dong Qingxue and Lin Wanwan exchanged confused glances, their expressions mirroring their growing unease. They continued through the spatial crack, but Dong Shengyi was no longer his confident self. His previous swagger had been replaced by a cautious vigilance, every step measured, every breath controlled. Mutant beasts emerged from the shadows, but Dong Shengyi fought them off with mechanical precision, his mind still reeling from the earlier encounter. As he sliced through another beast, a second rift opened nearby. He narrowly dodged it, his heart pounding in his chest. Moments later, yet another rift appeared, nearly piercing his chest. He barely avoided it, his movements increasingly frantic. Dong Shengyi slammed his sword into a beast's body, the blade sinking deep into its flesh. But as he pulled it free, a third crack materialized, dangerously close to his face. His anger boiled over. He closed one eye, glaring at Dong Qingxue with the other. What are you doing? He snapped, his voice laced with accusation. He backed away from the rift, his gaze never leaving Dong Qingxue. The realization dawned on him, and his blood ran cold. She's trying to kill me, he thought, panic rising in his chest. Dong Qingxue, arms still crossed, offered a serene smile. Apologies, she said lightly. I didn't see that crack either. His anger flared, and he pointed a trembling finger at her. You're lying. You knew it was there. You made sure I would run into it. And you were the one who insisted on coming this way. Dong Qingxue turned to face him, her expression unreadable. I really didn't see it, she repeated calmly. But I promise, I'll pay more attention next time. Dong Xingyi's fear was palpable now. Sweat drenched his face, and his hands shook. She's dangerous, he realized, his thoughts spiraling. He placed a hand on his waist, pointing at her with the other. Forcing a smile, he said, little by little, the truth is coming out. You haven't even married yet, and you're already putting your brother in danger. What will happen in the future? Dong Qingxue remained silent, her gaze steady and unwavering. Lin Wanwan's eyes widened as she processed Dong Xingyi's accusation, her shock evident as she glanced between the two siblings. Dong Qingxue, however, turned away, her gaze distant, lost in thought. Dong Shengyi's frustration mounted, his teeth grinding together as his temper flared. Lin Wanwan hesitated, then stepped closer to him, her voice laced with concern. Dong Shengyi, please calm down, she urged, trying to diffuse the tension. But Dong Shengyi, his hands shoved into his pockets, turned his head toward her, a bitter smirk playing on his lips. Wanwan, never follow her example when you're out with someone, he warned, his tone sharp. She's got a black heart now. Lin Wanwan blinked in surprise, while Dong Qingxue, catching the words, began to sweat, her expression unreadable. They pressed onward, reaching level 34 of the spatial crack, where more beasts awaited. Dong Shengyi, wielding his sword with lethal precision, dispatched them with ease. Yet, as another crack materialized near him, his nerves frayed. He sidestepped just in time, though the edge of the crack tore through his clothes. His gaze snapped to Dong Qingxue, frustration boiling over. Enough of this, Qingxue. If I get hurt, none of us will make it out of here alive. There are level 8 mutant beasts lurking around. Dong Qingxue met his glare, her expression stoic. She remained silent for a moment before turning away, her voice carrying a hint of seriousness. I didn't see the crack, she repeated, her tone unwavering. Dong Xingyi froze, disbelief washing over him as he started to sweat profusely. Dong Qingxue moved closer to another crack, examining it with a critical eye. It appeared suddenly, she mused, her voice calm but edged with concern. This wasn't here before. It's problematic. Dong Shengyi's heart pounded in his chest, terror creeping in as he realized she might have been lying earlier. Lin Wanwan covered her mouth in shock, her mind racing with the implications. Dong Qingxue stood, placing a hand on her hip as she faced them, confusion flickering in her eyes. What's with those looks? She asked, her tone casual, but the undercurrent of tension was unmistakable. Lin Wanwan slowly lowered her hands, her voice trembling as she responded. You said you didn't see it this time? Does that mean you pretended not to see them before? Dong Shengyi's mind raced, his hands trembling as he covered his face. The truth was unbearable. She wanted him to hurt himself. Dong Qingxue, noticing his panic, blushed slightly, turning her head to the side. Don't be ridiculous, she muttered. The situation isn't that serious. She glanced around as more cracks began to form, the space around them fracturing at an alarming rate. Dong Qingxue's demeanor shifted, her voice firm. We need to leave now. The spatial crack is about to break, and we can't afford to linger in a double S-class area any longer. Lin Wanwan hesitated before stepping closer to Dong Qingxue, her gaze sincere. I still have some samples left to collect, she said quietly, trying to break the tension. Dong Shengyi, now distrustful of Dong Qingxue, didn't even bother to respond to her. His eyes narrowed, and he turned to Lin Wanwan instead. Don't worry about it. We're moving forward, Dong Xingyi declared, dismissing any further discussion. Dong Qingxue met his gaze but said nothing, the weight of guilt hanging heavily over her. She knew that her earlier actions had led to this distrust, and now there was no undoing it. Meanwhile, deep within the spatial crack, Lu Shang had already reached level 35. A massive mutant beast lunged at him from behind, but with a single powerful punch, Lu Shang obliterated it. The creature's body crumpled to the ground as Lu Shang casually brought a hand to his mouth, yawning out of sheer boredom. Behind him, a mountain of mutant beast corpses lay in disarray, a testament to the carnage he had wrought. He walked over to the pile of corpses, placing one hand on his waist as he began extracting the marrow liquid using a tube. After observing the Tiger-Scorpion team perform this task countless times, the process had become second nature to him. However, just as he was finishing, something caught his attention, and his expression shifted dramatically. Shock registered on his face as he froze in place. Closing his eyes, Lu Shang raised a hand to his nose, an overwhelming sensation washing over him. His immortal cells were buzzing with strange signals, a disturbance he hadn't encountered before. His serene expression masked the turmoil inside as he began to decipher the messages encoded in those signals. Seconds ticked by, each one stretching into what felt like an eternity. When Lu Shang finally opened his eyes, understanding dawned on him, and with it came a chilling realization. Either he or someone important to him was in grave danger. His mind raced as he processed this revelation, the urgency of the situation pressing down on him like a weight.